Hey there, welcome to this episode of Author Success Show. The special guest we have today is one of my favorite clients, Laurie Tartaglia. Laurie is a New Jersey certified elementary school teacher with a BA in psychology. She completed the Robins-Madanes Strategic Intervention Coach certification. Divorced when her children were 1 and 3 years old, Laurie acted as a facilitator in support groups for those separated and divorced. She was compelled to write her book, Nothing Stays the Same, for others on the path to healing in the aftermath of a divorce. Laurie loves living in Morris County, New Jersey, but also had the privilege of living in Italy, Switzerland, and Germany. She's fascinated with learning different languages and is obsessed with reading historical fiction. Hey, Laurie, welcome to Author Success Show.
Hi, Jyotsna. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for coming on our show, Laurie.
Jyotsna, it's an honor, a true honor to be here.
It's been a pleasure for us to work with you on your book project. So I felt that yours is such a nice story that I felt it needs to be heard by more people. And that's why I just really wanted to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so very much. Thank you.
So when I was reading your story, Laurie, so let's first talk about the core topic of the book, right? It's called Nothing Stays the Same. It is basically to help people heal through the process of divorce. And there are so many people going through that journey. You yourself went through it several years ago. So why did you take so long to write your book? Like you could have written it long ago, right? So when was the calling for you to actually put this in the form of a book?
I think when anybody is going through pain, they're not in the headspace to sit down and write a book. You're in a whole different mindset. So it took years. It took years. And then I did go through a program to be a life coach. And this amazing woman who's the director said that now that she felt I had a spiritual obligation to write this book or to help people, not to write a book. And more time went by, and then I started taking notes, and that's what led to the book. Because then I really wanted one thing that will help somebody else going through that pain would have been wonderful.
Yeah, I totally agree that when we are actually going through the pain, our priority will be to have a better life, and we may not necessarily think about helping others. But years later, when you reflect upon all the challenges that you've overcome, you may have that feeling of giving back. And I think that is the right time. When you feel the time is right, I think that's when you should go ahead and write. So I remember
once you're through the healing yourself, now you process it differently to help somebody who's going through it.
Right. I think during the first time when we spoke, you mentioned to me, Laurie, that you have been coaching people in your church who are going through similar challenges. And when you see that you're bringing a smile on their faces, you felt confident that you can actually help a lot more people through your book. So did you actually start with one-on-one kind of conversations with people, which gave you the confidence later?
I think it was support groups with groups of people going through it. Oh, that absolutely helped, and adding to the story and trying to come at it. Everybody's pain and path is so different. So that helped from that respect. Because this is a self-help, a healing book, I had to offer so many different things because what will work for you will not work for somebody else because everybody's situation is so very different.
Yeah.
That was challenging, but wonderful at the same time.
So when I went through your book, I understood that you're not teaching just one methodology, but you're giving so many tools and strategies that people can freely choose based on what they resonate with. So how did you create that wonderful outline for your book? Did you know from the start that this is how I'm going to structure my chapters, or how was the actual process of getting started with the writing?
That's such a great question, because I think I started out one way and then I did shift. So when I thought about the 3 or 4 different keys that were going to be essential for healing, I would concentrate and then just start taking notes and then putting it on the computer and trying to get stories in that one section and then building on that. But that was started with a notebook and then transferred it to the computer.
Right. So by the time you started writing, you were not very sure of all the chapters, right? But eventually you created the outline as you started writing.
As that's right. It's
Right.
not like I had the outline first and then went for the book. I think the book started to create itself.
Right. So you mentioned that for every chapter you started gathering stories. So are these stories of people from your personal life, or stories that you've heard of, or some famous people going through similar things? So how did you manage to gather these stories?
So Jetson, I think that's a mix. I think where it was relevant, I tried to show my own story, be vulnerable in that, to show my own pain. But then I went to so many courses, webinars. I read so many books. So I wanted to pull, because if somebody's in pain, they're not going to have time or the headspace to read all of this. So I tried to summarize it from the best minds around, so that it was there for them, just to make it easy.
Yeah, I think sometimes the unique angle to a book can be the simplicity of the book. And I feel yours is one such book, because it takes these complex things and you just make it so simple. And you have this fantastic to-do list and a reflection section at the end of every chapter. So how did that come about? I think that makes the book really practical, because one doesn't just get inspired or motivated, but they actually know what action to take at the end of every chapter. So did you add that later, or while writing the book itself, you knew that this is how the structure is going to be like?
I thought about that while I was writing the book, only because years ago at the university, I took a class by a professor, a psychology professor, who was so different. And what he did was this reflection at the end of every class. And it was so powerful that I thought, again, somebody who's in pain, who doesn't have the headspace right now to read so many intricate things, the reflection will make them go over what they read. So that's how I came up with that. And to do page makes you take action. It's the action that's important.
I'm glad you spoke about your psychology classes. So you have studied psychology. You've also been certified as a life coach. Other than that, you've had your own life experiences, which have taught you a lot of things. So do you think for an author, it's not enough if they've just had life experiences, but they should also, improve their knowledge by formally getting certified in different areas of their interest?
I don't think you need to get formally certified. Some of the best coaches and speakers in the world don't have formal educations. I think it's all heart, and it all comes from you. I think that's what's the most important thing, is to just be vulnerable and with your own integrity to share what. I did have a therapist, and I did talk to her about life coaches, and I loved her answer. Therapy is something so special and so different and has its place. And a life coach is something so different. So no, I don't think people have to be certified. No.
Yeah, I think that's good to know, because a lot of authors who have such good messages and stories to share think that, oh, I am not a PhD in this subject, so what gives me the authority to share? And that stops them from writing a book. But as you said, if they have their heart open and they are vulnerable and they are committed to help others, then these certifications just can be added bonuses, but they are absolutely not necessary to become an author.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, they're wonderful added bonuses, but no, your heart, what you've been through, is what's going to help somebody. So great question.
Thanks, Laurie. So you have read so many books, right? And in every to-do list, you've actually, you're not telling people that my book is the only holy grail to overcome your grief, but you're actually telling people that go read this book, go follow that person. And I feel that is such, a collaborative way of thinking, rather than looking at other books as your competitors. You are just freely sharing resources throughout the book.
Right, because the pain is not an original thing. It's so, I think that was the best way to help somebody. And that's how I healed. If somebody said, oh, you must read this, that was important for me. Even in therapy, I remember asking the therapist, please give me books and to-dos. That's how I will help myself.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to pass on.
Yeah. So this is one other question I have for on behalf of other people who read a lot. So when you are so committed to a particular area which you want to improve yourself, you end up reading a lot of books on that subject. So that will definitely help you. But has that ever made you think that, oh my God, there are such amazing books on this subject of healing after divorce? So what makes me good enough to write a book on this when there are already so many amazing books out there? Has that thought ever crossed your mind?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it could be paralyzing because here your thought is to create something that will help someone. And yes, but you have to get over that. You have to stop that fear and just do it.
Right.
Because it's unique to you. I wouldn't let that stand in the way. I've read things by they're brilliant, but I've been helped by people who are not psychiatrists who chose a different path. So no, I wouldn't let that be a roadblock for anybody writing.
Yeah. I think, once you start sharing your story, it has to be unique because there's nobody else who has gone through the exact journey as you. And that could resonate with some people who may not resonate with the books written by New York Times bestselling authors. So you never know whose lives you will touch by writing a book. So that itself makes it a very compelling reason to go ahead and write.
Oh, that's so true. But I will say this, as a first-time author, it is overwhelming, the note-taking, the writing the book. But, and I've told you this before, it's finding the right publisher that changed everything for me. That first call with you took something that was on hold and constantly on hold, and I'll do it next month, to me taking action. And there are so many publishers out there, and I'm sure there are many wonderful ones. And that was overwhelming. But choosing Happy Self-Publishing was the difference between it being still on my computer today and being a book in my hand. So for that, I can't tell anybody who's starting out, that's one of the main things you have to get done, get the right publisher.
Thank you, Laurie. I'm so happy to hear that from you. So I'm curious to know, I don't know if I've ever asked this before, but there were so many options in front of you. Why did you decide to go ahead with Happy Self-Publishing?
So I had narrowed it down, again, so overwhelming. And I read an article, and in this article, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you the title. It had a system for rating publishing houses. Okay. And the ones I had narrowed it down to, and it was green light, red light, yellow. Right? Red light, stay away. Yellow, beware. Green light, phenomenal. Okay. And all of a sudden, next to Happy Self-Publishing is the green light. And that was my sign. That's it. That's wonderful.
Thank you. I think I should thank all of my previous clients for giving us the green rating. I think the website you would have probably seen is the Alliance of Independent Authors. They have this watchdog service where they rate companies. So I'm so thankful to them that through that particular article, we both got connected.
But it's a stress. It's stressful to want to create something and to find the right publisher. It just changed my whole path. It changed my path, and it gave me the confidence now that I already have notes for another book. So starting, just the seed, just starting. But that's, again, only because of Happy Self-Publishing and your team. And shout out to Sushmitha.
Yay.
You were just all beyond what I expected, and creative and professional. And thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. So what in particular did you enjoy about the whole publishing process?
The fact that I love learning something new, and it's a whole new world. I did love that. And to be with such creative people was inspiring to me. And it also made me go back to my work and rewrite things in a way which I wouldn't have done without the direction from the editors. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad that you enjoyed the editing. Sorry, because a lot of authors are really scared of going into the publishing process, thinking that, oh my God, what if an editor critiques my book? It will break my heart. It's my baby, that I've created in the form of a book. Now, what if the editor gives some nasty remarks? That's going to really hurt me. And that stops people from publishing their books. But you took everything sportively. You made the changes. You responded to the comments. And that made it so easy for us to keep moving to the next stage fast.
Well, even especially for my book, which is a self-help, a healing book, some of the editors' comments were great. However, put a story from yourself in it. And that made me rethink things. Mm-hmm. And I loved that direction as one of many, many things that I loved.
Thank you, Laurie. One final question about your book's title. How did you decide that? Because I find Nothing Stays the Same to be a very catchy title. And the subtitle is also beautiful. So what was your process to arrive at the title and the subtitle?
So I'm so fortunate to have had the most wonderful father. And he was like a life coach. Mm-hmm. For our entire family before anyone even heard that term. So whenever any of us had a problem, he would be the one that we would go to. And he would always end every conversation, don't worry about it. Nothing stays the same, and had such tremendous common sense. So I thought that would be a great way to honor him and help others, because it's true. Nothing stays the same. And what you think is your pain, and you're so unhappy, you won't believe how happy you will be when you do heal.
Right. Such a wise man. And I'm so glad you remembered his words and you added that to the title. Really nice.
Oh, thank you, Jill. That meant a lot.
Great, Laurie.
I am looking forward to, and this again is because of your team, of doing the audio and having the audio book. And the fact, and even your team had said, let it be in your voice.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Right. Because your voice itself is very healing and soothing, and you are going to be coaching a lot more people in future. So it's always better when it comes through your own voice.
Yeah. But again, thank you. Happy self-publishing.
So can you think of any one positive feedback you've received from some of the first readers of the book?
Yes. Two things really were exciting for me. When somebody reads the book and they pick out an exercise that really resonated with them and how it is helping them, that's great. But another thing is, I got from a lot of people, and they're like, well, this isn't just for divorce, this is for life. And that was thrilling for me.
Yeah, well said, because the principles you share need not only help people heal through divorce. For example, the mandala art that you mentioned, that's something I've started doing along with my daughter, and we both enjoy it. So it's like a nice way to, make my bond with my daughter stronger. So thank you for suggesting that, Laurie.
Oh, Jyotsna, that was probably one of the biggest healing tools for me. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was that's a special thing to do, and wonderful to do with your daughter, and a tool for her lifetime.
Yeah. So what would be your final word of advice to all those people out there who have a book inside them? They know it. A lot of people have told them to write one, but something has been stopping them. So what would be your advice to them?
Don't hesitate. Just do it. Pick up the phone and start with a great publisher. I know a great one. Start with that first phone call, and you will be so thrilled with start with tiny steps, and you will be amazed that it will end up with a book in your hand. So just do it.
Thank you for sharing that, Laurie. A lot of people first talk about write the book and do this and do that, but you spoke about speaking to the publisher, and I felt it's very good advice, because a lot of authors feel very lonely when they have to do everything on their own. But once they start sharing it with somebody else who can help them, it becomes like a plan, a project. You have a team who's going to support you. They're going to give you some timelines. So then it becomes very real.
Now you're part of a team, and it gives you a push if you needed the push. Yeah. And if you're not, it will help with your flow and get it accomplished. That it's by far the best decision that I have made. Oh.
Thanks, Laurie. Thank you once again for coming on Author Success Show.
so special to be here. Thank you.
If people want to know more about you or your book, where should they head over to?
Right now, there's a Instagram, a Nothing Stays the Same book. Mm-hmm. That would be great. And it's on Amazon.
Fantastic. We'll have all the links right below in the show notes. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you so much.